Hello everyone, this is LB3 and I am back again with another draft video. This video is part of a series where I will take a look at the top matchups between draft prospects in college football week by week. In this video, we will be taking a look at the top matchups between draft prospects in week 2 of the 2019 college football season. This will be a weekly series, so if you think there's someone that I missed, let me know in the comments. And if there's someone specific you'd like to see next week, also put that in the comments and I'll be sure to take a look at it. With all of that in mind, let's take a look at our first matchup for week 2. The first matchup that we're taking a look at is Sam Ehlinger and Colin Johnson versus LSU. For anyone that does not know, these two both play for Texas, who will be playing LSU this coming week in what is likely their greatest test of the season. LSU, with one of the top cornerbacks and the inarguable top safety in the 2020 draft class, along with a host of other talented players, will make things very difficult for these two to play to their highest expectations. Ehlinger has a solid chance to rise in this quarterback class, as he has solid tools, and the quarterback 3 spot is currently up in the air. And if there is a game he is going to try and prove he belongs in the discussion, it would be this game. Johnson needs to prove that he can win against NFL quality corners and safeties to have the potential to go in the first round. Ideally, he would show a strong ability to separate, as although he is more smooth and agile than most guys his size, it can still be very tough for bigger guys like him to get open in the NFL, and winning jump balls is rarely a trait that can carry over. All in all, this will be the toughest matchup for both players this season, and just like that tired cliche, NFL scouts love players who perform on the biggest stage. Moving on to the second matchup of the week, we are going to take a look at my favorite matchup of the week, although I'm not sure how often we're going to see it. That is Colorado wide receiver Laviska Shenault versus Nebraska cornerback Lamar Jackson. And no, Lamar Jackson did not leave the Ravens to go back to college and switch positions. This is an entirely different Lamar Jackson. This Lamar Jackson is an absolutely massive 6'3", 210-pound cornerback for Nebraska, who has better than average athleticism for his size. He is a rare prospect at cornerback, and teams that value size will be extremely interested in him. This will be his first big test of the season, and if he can shut down Shenault, he will get a lot of looks his way. Based off his 2018 tape, he will always be at least slightly limited moving laterally, but if he could work on his overall technique, he should be able to grow as a player and potentially push for a first-round selection. On the other side, Shenault is already a highly regarded prospect with first-round aspirations. Personally, I have concerns about him athletically, so seeing if he can win with athleticism against a larger corner will be key, especially if he can win with his route running as well. Our third matchup of the week, I'm not really sure what I can say about him that hasn't already been said. I'm talking about the absolutely electric Travis Etienne, the running back for the Clemson Tigers. Etienne is arguably running back 1 in the 2020 class and got off to a strong start against Vanderbilt. Of course, Vanderbilt is not the kind of team that he needs to prove himself against. He needs to prove that he can perform against teams that are at least kind of close to Clemson talent-wise. Of course, Texas A&M is not there, but they're a lot closer than Vanderbilt. Etienne is a home run hitter, but unlike a guy like Saquon Barkley, for example, he's also a grinder that knows how to take what is given to him and doesn't constantly look to bounce runs outside. He is insanely fast with good vision and lateral agility. For an NFL team that already has a lot of talent and is looking for that final piece, a home run hitter like Etienne could be exactly what they need. Performances against these tougher opponents could be exactly what Etienne needs to convince a team to take him in the first round. Our fourth matchup of the week is someone who disappointed in week 1 and had their best performance of their career in this game last year. I'm talking about Rodgers versus A.J. Terrell and the rest of the Clemson defense. In a crowded wide receiver group, Rodgers tries to stand out with his size, speed, and crazy strong hands. However, he has failed to produce to the level of a high NFL draft pick, or really of an NFL draft pick at all, for a variety of reasons. With a line of 1 catch for 12 yards in week 1, there is concern about that same fact repeating this year, despite the flashes of extremely quality play he has put on tape. Last year he had a huge game against Clemson and then faded down the stretch, and I am sure he is trying to avoid that same outcome this year. Last year, after a 7 for 120 game against Clemson in week 2 put him on the map, he is hoping a big game against them this year in week 2 can keep him on the map. For the Clemson side, this is a great test of how they deal with box outs and fighting for the ball in the air. Here's hoping that Rodgers can live up to expectations and keep this wide receiver class as interesting as it could be. Next, we are taking a look at Walker Little versus USC and their edge rushers. While none of USC's edge are super highly regarded as prospects, they have a solid group with a couple of draftable guys and some with potential to grow as prospects still. Little, on the other hand, is already seen by some in draft media as a potential first-round offensive tackle. If If I'm being honest, I don't see it, as Little is rough technically and doesn't play with much power or even uses athleticism well. Last year he was absolutely destroyed by Notre Dame and their stable of edge rushers. Of course, I always believe in players being able to grow and improve, so I'll be watching this matchup with a lot of interest to see if Little has grown as a prospect and worked on his technique enough to be regarded as the first-round offensive tackle that he is seen as by some. If he is constantly beaten like a drum like he was against Notre Dame, then that will be a near-death knell for his first-round hype for me. He would still have a lot of season left, but a poor showing here would not be a good start, and it would be unlikely he improves his technique during the season anyway. The final matchup that we are taking a look at this week is Michael Warren versus Ohio State's defense. I don't like to talk about running back prospects as freight trains or powerhouses or anything like that, as their ability to break tackles or push forward lessens when they get to the pros. But in Warren's case, it is the only way to describe him. Wherever Warren is first hit, just add 3 yards to that, and that is where he will eventually end up going down. In his matchup against Ohio State, his offensive line will most likely struggle opening up holes for him, so it will be a great test of how well he can create for himself. I warn people not to box score scout for this game, as even if his final stat line does not seem that great, I'll guarantee that he worked for every yard that he gets. The Cincinnati defense is the real problem with this game, as if Ohio State gets out to a huge lead early on like they did in week 1, it will be tough for Cincinnati to stick with the run game. Also watch for Warren to be involved as a receiver, either out of the backfield or lined up out wide, and as a blocker, all things he also excels at. Like Keyshawn Vaughn we highlighted last week, he may not be an explosive player, but he is a consistent, powerful player who can produce on all 3 downs in the NFL. Alright, those are the top 6 matchups that I will be keeping an eye on in week 2 of college football. If I missed a good matchup, don't hesitate to comment it, and I will be sure to check it out. I will be doing these videos weekly throughout the season, so if there are any matchups you definitely want me to highlight in week 3, don't hesitate to comment those either. I always love to hear feedback and have some good draft conversations. If you like this video, then definitely subscribe, so I'll have a lot more draft content coming to this channel throughout the college football season, and then after that, all the way up until the draft. This has been LB3. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. Peace.